thing and walk away. They give you small thing and you forget about somebody else and do something. For businessmen, that's good. But for country like us, that's not good. Then there's another sector of activities where corruption is permeating. That is the area of money donors contribute to poor countries and say, go and help these countries because we do not trust government officials. The NGOs come in, they take the money, but because they want to pay themselves good salaries, they end up bribing people in order to do less with the money and pay themselves huge salaries. So that's why it's good to look at WFP as a beginning to begin to understand why these international organizations don't want to be reviewed, audited, or not. And it's not in Liberia. Pakistan, for example, there's a book written on it. Egypt, there's a book written on it. Basically outline how these international organizations end up eating money. Haiti, for example, when earthquake damaged Haiti or destroyed a section of Haiti, 5 billion was pledged. Our former president that a lot of Liberians like, William Jefferson Clinton, was the chairman of the Haiti Foundation. Now go to Haiti and see if there was any good thing done. But is there any way to review the activities of that foundation to see where did the money go? There was a report that 1.2 billion of that amount was used to finance the military of the US, their activities in Haiti. But we thought the military of the US should not be using donors' money to do work in Haiti, but that's what happened. Now, let's go back now to the issue of WFP.
Right. And the best way to start this is, what is this WFP and what are some of the activities in Liberia?
WFP is World Food Program, established 1961. Actually, it came as a subgroup of Federation of Agriculture Organization, FAO, all created by the United Nations to help solve the issue of food insecurity in poor countries. Basically, the UN said, look, we have all these countries and they're not doing well. If they don't eat and they get sick, we will be held responsible as human. We should help our brothers and sisters. So FAO was created, and later on, WFP was created for emergency, but at the same time to help and increase, food security in countries.
Okay.
So that's what WFP is all about.
Let's now look at WFP operations in Liberia, and we can start with, the latest one.
The latest one is the $30 million. 25 million was contributed by Liberia and 5 million was contributed by the World Bank. Stimulus package for the coronavirus, basically to help people with the electricity bill, to buy food. The argument the government made then was that it was better to give the money to WFP, World Food Program, because they had a vehicle, they had a technical experts, they had experience, and they will not be corrupt. Trust me, one of the advisors to WIA said, and he said to my friend, that the WFP will do very well. It will give the money to local organizations, they will eat the money, and then again, you will hold the president responsible. So let's give the money to the international organization to do the work. So they took the 30 million, transferred from the bank of the central bank straight to the account of the WFP. The government was very clear to say, look, we didn't touch the money. The money was transferred directly to the WFP. Good. Now, the WFP, what happened, what didn't happen, information reached that a lot of people didn't receive food, and also there was delay in shipping the food. So the question was, what happened? But before then, there was an issue of administrative fees. Information leaked that in fact, the WFP was taking away 9 million of the 30 million for administrative expenses. The issue came out. lawmakers was concerned. But then the WFP came and said, hold it. We don't charge more than that. We charge 6%. But if you multiply 6% times 30 million, that's 1.3 million or 1.8 million.
Right.
But how come 9 million was taken away? Well, I can tell you the reason is when the WFP got the contract, like all international organizations do, they themselves don't perform the job. They take the job and give it to individuals or companies. Some of those companies don't file tax return, or if they file tax return, they don't publish their reports. So if a company B receive money from WFP and is not required to file tax return, is not required to publish report, how are you going to audit them?
Right.
You can't audit them. So this is how the international organization protect themselves. When they get the money, because they don't want to be audited, they look for entities that are not required to publish their reports to give them the money. Now, if I know you're going to benefit and I know you're not going to be audited, the chances of you and I cutting a deal for me to keep some of the money is very high. And that's what leads to most of these corruption. Go back to one of the activities that the WFP undertook. In 2017, 2018, according to the Liberian Citizens Budget, the WFP received 50 million, 10 million for 5 different counties: River G, River Cess, Maryland, Grand Cru, and Grand Juliet County. I have circulated those reports around. But if you go to those counties, you're not going to see any evidence whether they bought food or whether they assisted people to grow potato, to grow rice, or to grow yam, or to grow edo. They didn't do that. But in fact, there's another issue of the WFP.
Before you get to that issue, why would the government give money to WFP, an international organization, to carry on activities in those counties? I mean, what's the logic?
No, if you're talking about the 50 million and not the 30 million,
The 50.
the 50 million did not come from the government.
Oh, okay.
50 million is part of the 5 billion that was given to NGOs within 7 years from 2013 to 2018.
Oh, okay.
A huge amount of money was given to NGOs. In fact, according to what I'm hearing, I don't have exact document on it, but I have document from 2013 to 2018, 5 billion. They're saying close to 10 billion was given during Ellen Johnson's administration, President Ellen Johnson's administration. But you can't see any results. The money given to NGO. That's why the last time I questioned and wrote an article asking the director for USAID. She went along to say USAID has been helping Liberians and Liberia. She named JFK, she named MCSS school system. I said, that's good, but those were built 15, 20 years ago. What happened to the recent money you got from American taxpayers? Within 7 years, you got 927 million. USAID alone, that's government money from the United States of America, given to USAID to carry out projects. Tell us where they spend the money. They can't tell us because you don't see any identifiable asset to say this is what they spend the money on. So you can see, if you read the book No More Bossman, it says, the author says that USAID has more employees in Liberia than the American embassy in Liberia. And most of the time, the money they use it to shake hands with government officials in order to have their way.
Yeah. So who and that's the problem with the auditing now. So actually, who look at these people to make sure that the money is being spent correctly? Like, for instance, the taxpayers of the United States give money to USAID. Does USAID actually report back to the US government, and is that report public for us to see?
Well, they have, most times they do compliance audit, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
how much money came, who it went to, period. Now, was the project implemented? That's a different story.
Right.
They don't go into that. And I said to you, the reason is when the international NGO receive the money, they take out their administrative expenses and then look for local NGOs that might not even have good records or that might not be required to file a tax return. Now, NGO is now a profit-making entity, so most time they don't file return with the Liberian Revenue Authority or a tax jurisdiction in any other country. So the requirement to file isn't there, but at least they should be publishing their reports. And if they have published their report, people will begin to see how the money was spent. But you can't see it because they gave the money to other individuals or some little institution that has just been created by 2 or 3%. They're not going to file a tax return. So you're not going to have any record because they gave the money to entities that are not required to file tax returns or publish their reports. So if you're not a profit-making entity, you don't have to pay taxes to Liberia Revenue Authority. You will not file a tax return. If you are an entity and you are not a public entity, meaning you're not selling shares to the public, you are not required to publish a report. Just like, other individuals are not required to publish their reports. So therefore, you're not going to know what they did, what they didn't do. And that's why, the issue of investigating the entities is everywhere. People are complaining. At some point, people are telling international organizations, international entities that the money should be given to the government. But they rebel and say, no, because government officials are corrupt. Let us manage the money. Let us keep the money.
Are they wrong?
Oh, they are wrong. And the reason why they are wrong, I cannot see reasons why people or institutions who claim that government officials are corrupt and therefore they should manage, they should be the first to say, see what I told you, I'm transparent, I'm transparent, here are the records. They should be showing it. They should be showing that these are the records. So why should they be hiding behind some diplomatic or some memorandum of understanding? They should not be hiding behind that. They should be saying, we told you we are transparent. Here are the records to show that we are transparent. That's what they should be doing. Not giving an excuse that because there was no memorandum of understanding, therefore they should not be audited. Right. If I say you are not good, then I should have records to show that I'm good.
Right.
Then I shouldn't be coming and say, no, don't look at my records because we didn't sign a memorandum of understanding.
And what in our own laws, and we'll come specifically to WFP, what in our own laws, and not just Liberia, but other African countries that will tell you to say, hey, let's look at your record. What is stopping us from doing that?
Well, the relationship in terms of what WFP or NGOs do with money donated by donors is a different ball game. The money Liberia gave or money that a country gives to a NGO to do project, that's a different ball game altogether in the case of the 25 billion. I don't see the reason why when a country gives its resources to an institution, international or not, I don't see the reason why there has to be a directive from some international organization that we should audit that entity that received the money. There should be no reason. The auditor to me should have asked the WFP to submit itself for an audit. Let the WFP tell you, say, we cannot. It should not be to say, well, because we don't have a memorandum of understanding, or I ask the finance minister to include the clause that will allow me to audit the WFP, and since we didn't include the clause, I cannot audit the WFP. Had I been an auditor, I would ask the WFP to submit their record to see how they spend the money. Let them say, this is the law that protected me. I will ask them that law refers to money given by donors. The money Liberia gave to you, you are responsible to Liberia.
Right. And I saw the report on Front Page Africa. I read that they wanted the GAC to audit WFP for the 25 million. What you know? What happened? WFP is refusing. Why is that?
But that's what I'm saying. The Auditor General said when the negotiation was in process, she asked the Finance Minister to include a paragraph, a provision within the Memorandum of Understanding that after the services performed by WFP, Liberian government will audit. And the provision was not included by the economic advisors, and therefore she didn't think she had any authority. I'm saying I don't think the auditor to me was right. She had to ask WFP to say, I'm going to ask you to submit records to see how you spent our 25 million. Not don't include the 5 million from the World Bank because that came from a different entity. But the Liberian taxpayers' dollar that you receive, you should account for the money we give you. I don't think you don't need, in my understanding, you don't need, because the Auditor General is responsible to protect the properties of Liberia.
Right.
That's the mandate. As an auditor, you are required to protect the properties of Liberia. This was not property of donors. This was not property of the World Bank. It's money given to you by Liberia from the taxpayers.
And what do you think is the motivation there that the GAC will be reluctant or will give such an excuse?
But I mean, I don't want to second guess what she said. But I'm saying, granted, that was not done. I'm not going to worry over the government of Liberia, truly, because the president told his colleagues, if you don't steal, you stupid. So these guys are giving the green light by the president of the Republic of Liberia that they should go ahead and build houses and steal money and build houses. So they are doing that. So I don't worry over what they do, whether to do it, whether they did it to steal or not. I don't worry about that. My concern is with the international organization that came into existence because they claim that government officials are corrupt and therefore they're going to do a better job. They can't come now and receive money from the government, not from donors, but from the government, poor taxpayers' money. And they say, oh no, we don't want to, you can't audit us, or, we're not going to submit ourselves because there are no memorandum of understanding. It just defeats the whole purpose of being in existence. The purpose of coming to existence was that government officials are corrupt. We are not corrupt. We are transparent. We are accountable. We will provide documentation. Based on that premise, they should be ready at all times to provide documentation, whether it's donors' money or money from the country. For me, that's my concern. I don't worry about the government officials of Liberia. I don't worry about them because they told you clearly what they want to do.
And where was that said? Are you paraphrasing the president that if you don't steal, you
No, he said it at the Federation of Youth of Liberia program. And specifically, he was referring to the PhDs and the progressive people. That they stay here, they got PhD, they stay here for 60 years, and, they don't have bicycles, they don't have offices, they don't have houses. Anybody who has a PhD and stay in Liberia for 60 years, the only thing you do, the struggle continue, something wrong with his head. That's what he said.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we had a program, at the Federation of Federation of Youth Organization.
Federation of Liberian Youth.
The Federation of Liberian Youth, you got it. It was an installation program and he went to speak.
I hope the president...
In fact, based on that, Moja came up with a statement on our issue. It was published on the Perspective.
I missed that. I will kind of look it up.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the WFP. Let's look at because earlier you look at the statement of the WFP to actually go into their record and see what they're up to. There's a group that saying, hey, we didn't sign the memorandum of understanding to tell you how we spend your money. I don't know how stupid that statement can be. We didn't sign it so we can tell you what we did with your money. Just believe us that we spend it wisely. And up to now, there is not much is coming from this whole COVID-19 relief fund. And that's something that we're going to look at separately apart from this program. But let's look at you look at the financial records of WFP. What can we learn from the WFP record that will support some of what we are discussing today?
All right, put up, for example, the expense sheet, the detail, if you want it. Let's just look at the detail, then later on we'll go to the, or put on the revenue section.
Yeah,
The 7 billion.
yeah, the income.
Yes. That's, you see, the 7 billion, 7.9 billion, that's coming from donors, contribution. Then now, they say food and commodities distributed, cash-based transfer distributed. That's about 5 million, or yeah, 5.4 million. The rest are expenses. If you look in a detail, you don't see anything related to farming equipment, any money used in order to improve agriculture in the third world countries. You don't see that. What they do there is basically food and commodity distributed. They use this money to buy the excess food in advanced country and distribute it to the poor countries. In essence, depriving the third countries from getting involved into agricultural products. That's what they do. So when they do that, they make you dependent on your food.
So let's look at the expense.
Okay. Yeah, okay. If you look at the expense, look at wages. Wages salary is 1.1 trillion. Look at the 4.5 supplies and communications. Look at contracts and other services, 851 million. That's what I'm talking about. That's some of the thing there. After the wages, the next big item you have is contracts, giving projects to individuals. Most times these projects are not given to companies that publish their reports. They're given to companies that don't publish their reports. The money they give, the food to be distributed again, they give it to local NGOs to go distribute the food.
Cash-based transfer distributed food commodity.
Meaning is that they go certain places and give money out and say go buy food. Now, why would any company not be willing to show the list in each county? For example, the 10 million they claim to give to River G or Grand Cru or Grand Jita or River Cess or Maryland. They should show you a list of all the people they give money to without 10 million. The population of River G is too small. So if you were to divide 10 million, when the president went there, you have seen the effect of the 10 million. Yeah. I don't think so. They didn't get 10 million or go to Grand Jita. They didn't get 10 million. So what happened to the money? What happened to the money? Each county, the list is there, each 5 of those counties receive 10 million. And mind you, interestingly, if you look in the report, they got country program C2300395. And when you go on the internet to find that out, they explain that yes, they are feeding people, but the population they gave you is too small. Now, the sheet you just showing there,
we'll come to the World Bank. But before we go to the World Bank, when we exhaust the World Food Program, then we go to FAO, which is a sister organization or parent organization, and see how that, whether this is the same thing with the FAO.
Right. Yeah, FAO, like I said, was like the original institution that was created, and basically was to help to reduce poverty, hunger, and disease. But the United Nations had a good idea. That's brilliant, you know, to help mankind. But over the years, what happened? Which of the countries they have assisted? They did build irrigation. Look at the whole of North Africa there. It's nothing but desert. Why can't we redirect the rivers to those areas so we can grow food. Why? Gaddafi tried to do that. He was one of those that created a human river, you know. But why we can't do that? Why the FAO, for example, can say, look, we got desert in Morocco, we got desert in Libya. Instead of bringing the food from the advanced country, let's see how we can plant trees so later on we can begin to grow rice, grow potato, grow yam, or whatever food those countries or those individuals eat in the different countries. Why we can't do that? But yeah, world food there, 7 billion almost every year they create, they are getting from donors. Why we can't use the money to begin to grow rice, to grow the food the people in those various communities eat? Rather, we insist to buy food from the market in the US because the belief is if you don't buy the excess food, the farmers will go bankrupt.
Yeah. Let me put the schedule up as well.
Okay.
This is the World Food Program.
No, this is FAO.
I mean the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO.
Okay. Right. Look at it that way. Look, and it's interesting because you see the total asset, which is 1.9 billion. But look at it. Why keep all this money? You are there to help with the issue of hunger. Why keep 900 million, right? Why keep 900 million in cash and cash equivalent? Why keep that? The same thing we were talking about the last time with the central bank. This is a lot of money you keeping when people are dying of hunger, right? Then you take 500 million also and go and invest it in security on Wall Street. For what? Why should you do that? Look at the total asset. You don't see any money allocated to buy Caterpillar or to buy farm equipment. Not the asset does not list anything like that. You got cash, you got investment derivatives, you got receivable, you got prepayment and other current asset. Nothing here gives any indication that they were buying equipment for people to make rice farm. Nothing there. See the asset. See the asset. You know, and if you see that, then you go very well. They don't have interest in making sure you become independent. And in order to do that, they will have to bribe officials so they can continue to remain in business. So that's the reason why when they get the money, they don't want anybody to look at what they're doing. They don't want you to look at these kind of expenses and say, wow, you receive all that money, but why are you keeping the money anyway?
Right. But Mr. Yanqui, if you say the assets, that you don't see machineries, you don't see equipment. Yes, you don't see that because if they were to buy machineries and equipment for Liberia, they will give it to Liberia, so it wouldn't be part of their asset. That's how I'm looking at it.
Very good. That's a good issue you raise. But most times, if you buy equipment and you're working, if you are involved in a production, you will have it there until you finish the production and turn it over. Or at least you have some that you have not paid for, or you'll be owing for some equipment. So the balance sheet has a way to tell a story. If you're in a business of buying cars, there's no way no car will be registered on your balance sheet. Okay? There's no way. Two, why are you keeping all the cash? Why? Why are you keeping all that cash? All your assets, most of them in cash. That's not good. If you say you, like I said, cash should be used to produce something, services, food. That's what they should use the cash for. Not keep the cash and go reinvest it. But if you tell them, say, well, you know, we are business, we have to invest some of the money, keep some of the money in case of emergency we don't have. That's the excuse we give you. Well, that will be fine if at least 10% of the people will be at least benefiting from the donors' money. That's not your money. That money the donors gave for you to help people. You're not doing your own business to say, you know, well, I gotta keep this money in order to maintain the company. Use the money and ask for more. Don't keep the money, you know, and then people are dying because you're not using the money as intended or as promised. For me, that's my concern.
Right. somebody too has a concern. If you will come with comments later on, but I want to read this comment right now so that you can respond to it. Kanga Have Pega say you are speaking on issues that you don't know. The United Nations does not work in isolation of the sovereignty of those nations they work in. There is something called a country agreement that defines the role and the responsibilities of the United Nations in any country. Your guest is spewing lies in public space. Before you enter, so Mr. Pega, you said there is something called country agreement that defines the role. So give me the example where the country that responsibility is say, well, don't do any report. Anybody can write an agreement. So give me more, Mr. Pega. Go ahead, Mr. Zeze.
Well, you to Mr. Pega, or you talking to me, or you want me to
Mr. Pega, respond to Mr. Pega. Say you don't know what you're talking.
Well, I mean, look at the figures, Mr. Pega. Forget about the agreement. Forget about whether the WFP should be audited or not. Look at the numbers. Are those numbers in any way indicating to you that they are meeting the intention or the vision of the promise made to fight hunger, disease, and poverty? I don't think so. Look at the wages they're paying their employees. Huge. If you even go to the retirement benefits, it's a huge amount kept for the employees. You're paying too much money to the employees and very little going to the intended projects. So, Mr. Pega, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying to you, look at the numbers. You don't have to go to any agreement. Just look at the numbers. Look at the expenses. You receive $7 billion. So how come you got a lot of the countries still suffering? And this is not a 2 years organization. 1961, the WFP was organized. It's still different from the World Bank. World Bank was organized 1954. Show me one success story of the World Bank. Show me one.
And we're coming to the World Bank now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is focused on Liberia. We are discussing why these international organizations don't submit to be audited by the countries in which they operate, especially when the country gives its money to the organization. In the case of the 25 million we gave to the WFP for COVID relief, WFP is saying, hey, there's nothing in our memorandum of understanding that we should be accountable. So just take it as it is, take our voice as Bible. Please call. The number is on the screen there. We're going to put the number on the screen. Call and be part of this discussion. If you disagree with Mr. Zeze, let us know. Mr. Zeze, let's go to the World Bank. Unlike these groups that are actually working, FAO and WFP, the World Bank is kind of a little different. Tell me about the World Bank, why they were established, and how are they relating to us as of today?
Well, the World Bank was established again in the same line with FAO, fight disease, hunger, and poverty. Interestingly, the last former president of the World Bank was kicked out, even though they say time expired. But employees in the World Bank told Mr. King, Dr. King, that look, if you want to save mankind, go back to the World Health Organization at the United Nations. At the World Bank, we are here to make money. At the World Bank, we are here to make money. So go back. But let me come back again. Look at the World Bank. If you look at the income statement, huge. Where is the money coming from? The money coming from money they lend to countries. No, that's the VFP.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
World Bank income statement. This one.
Right. That's the World Bank income statement. Look at that loan interest revenue, 2.1 billion. Where's that money coming from? From poor countries, from countries that find it difficult to get money from a commercial bank because the interest rate will be high. But if you see that most of the money comes from the poor countries. If you look to Liberia in 2007, I don't know whether you're able to bring that schedule up. Like I said before, in 2007 annual report of the central bank, they gave you the breakdown of the 4.7 billion. I'll repeat what I said. even if you don't have the schedule.
Yeah.
I'm interested in two creditors, bilateral creditors, and of course, external banks. Bilateral creditors' total principal was 687 million, and the interest they pay was 314 million. External banks, which includes the World Bank, the total loan was 223 million, but the interest was 1.1 billion. So, is the World Bank there helping to save life, or in fact is taking more money away from the poor countries, and as a result creating chaos? Today you don't have oxygen, you don't have a lot of things at the hospital. Why? Because we're using the money to pay interest to the World Bank.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the World Bank doesn't want for you to be independent. That's one of the reasons why the World Bank would make sure that certain individuals are elected as officers who will do what they tell those individuals to do.
Right. And that line item about interest income is interesting. So it means World Bank borrowed Liberia, say, $2 billion, and we're
Yeah.
paying that money back with interest. So it is that interest that is the income in their statement right there.
Exactly. That's the money they're making. They're not doing anything else. Maybe they provide services, advices here and there, but basically it's lending poor countries money and getting the interest income. So now you see the reason why they are interested in making sure that they can sign fraudulent concessionary agreements. Because look at it this way, it's like somebody who has a funeral home. Does he want people to be saved by the doctor, or he want people to die? Well, he wants to make money. He wants people to die.
Are you
So
saying the World Bank? Mhm.
Does the World Bank want you to make money out of your natural resources? No. Because if you make money out of your natural resources, then you will not borrow money from them and they will not exist. So you see the link, bring in investors who will give brown envelope in order to receive fraudulent agreements so that this country will always be poor to borrow money from us. You see the link? So Mr. Gangai, do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you see why these NGOs, in fact, let me also tell you, the World Bank owns NGOs. The World Bank owns and manages non-governmental agencies. And in fact, it tries by all means to influence the other NGOs that want to do good jobs.
Let's look at their balance sheet.
All right. Now, that's the balance sheet. We are told that 176 countries own the World Bank. Beautiful. That's a good statement. It means, the people go to the World Bank meeting, they vote and decide what to do. But for the line we came from our work, we don't look at what is on paper. We look at the numbers. Economic is the issue we look at. And if you look at the World Bank, look at borrowing. It's 243 billion. What's the total liability? 296 billion. It tells you that those who lend money to the World Bank are the de facto owners, and not the 176 countries, because they can tell the managing director what they want. Other than that, they will not give them more money to work with. This 176 countries own 40 million of that total 249 billion. Do they really have control, or the person with the highest money?
Highest money, of course.
Exactly. So
are you saying the World Bank does not give money free to any country? Every time they give money, it's interest, because in the report sometimes they give interest.
They will be like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett steals from you and gave you small one. Bill Gates steal a lot of money from the people, and later on at the end of the year, he give small money here and there to say, okay, I'm a nice guy. You get money, you go to the church, you give your contribution, you give your tithes, right?
Right.
You just do that. And a lot of times you do that because you're telling God, yeah, God, I stole a lot of money, but you see, I got good heart, I'm giving some back. The World Bank does that too. They steal most of the money.
That's not what we are telling God. We are giving God we are giving God a time because of Malachi 3:9. Bring all
Well,
your
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying to you, you're telling God, yeah, I stole a lot of money, but please forgive me. And I'm honestly giving this from my heart, but I know I did bad, and that's why I came to church today to pray so He can forgive me.
Let's
But
see
I have
what.
to bad. So I'm saying to you, yeah, the World Bank will give out money packages here and there, and also they will bribe officials in order to influence them to do things that they would not normally do if they didn't receive the brown envelope. All right, look at the wages there. Look at the wages. Staff 957 million. All right, consultant fee 443 million. Pension in other retirement benefits 308 million. If you add 308 million to 957 million, because that all related to wages, you talk about 1.2 billion. Isn't so?
Correct.
That's what you're doing there. Eh? So how much what are the expenses? Your expensive, you got 1.2 billion that is on the real sheet, the condensed sheet, but you can see the total expenses is 2.2 billion. They reduced it because of other reimbursement from other subsidiaries. That's why it came to 1.2 billion. But the total expense is 2.2 billion. Wages and benefits came to what? 1.1 billion of your 2 billion from the World Bank. So what are they doing? They get the money from the poor countries, pay themselves huge salaries, and relax and use some of the money to bribe officials so they can influence us in terms of making sure that our resources, we don't make money from it, because if we make money, we'll not borrow money from them. So that's the link.
How,
We make sure you don't manage your resources. We manage it. We pay you less. Then you are compelled to borrow money from us. So you see the link? It's not free. World Bank is just, they're not doing favor for you. They actually giving you small things, greasing your mouth, and then see more from you.
Mr. Zaza, you are not the only person looking at these things, because government after government will make business with these people. Is it that we don't know, or what is the incentive of government that, in the case of Liberia, that one president after the other, we keep doing the same thing? Is it that they
But
don't?
look at the president of Tanzania who just died. He refused the World Bank money. Yes, he refused. Brazil is now saying we don't want World Bank money. Nigeria is now borrowing money from China.
Now World Bank.
If they're doing it very little amount from the World Bank. But you see, we don't debate these issues because people that were in power, you see, if you look at the economy of Liberia, is structure. The World Bank takes over Firestone, Metal Steel, bomb mines and other places. Then the local NGOs, they say, okay, I mean, the local bureaucrats, they took over the diamond, the gold, and the houses, and the importation, and the transportation. So the elites are satisfied eating their own, and the World Bank is satisfied because you got all the fraudulent activities, they're eating their own. So why you want to make noise when you're getting piece of the pile? Why you want to make noise when you're getting piece of the pile? If you go, for example, and that's a different topic, go to Mama Point, 1.4 lots is going for $175,000 a piece of land. 1.4 lot, Mama Point, $175,000. An acre will come close to $500,000 in Monrovia, which is almost like a ghost town. You don't have libraries, you don't have laboratories, you don't have museums, you don't have parks. Midnight, people run away to their gated homes or run away upstairs. But yet and still, 1 acre of land, some part of Monrovia, is $500,000. Who is benefiting? The elites.
And
But
that's a separate topic that we're going to discuss.
I understand, but I'm doing a connection.
Yeah,
you are asking why over leaders do not question these things.
Correct.
And the reason is they are getting piece of the pile.
And now anytime you say those things, that's the kind of question you will get. Anytime you say what you were saying now, the question is, oh man, when you get there, you will do the same thing. What is, why is it, that leader after leader will do the same thing, and now we are talking? Is it because we're not in government?
Well, it's not everybody that's in government that's corrupt.
Okay.
There are people who live and work honestly and walk away free. I am not here to tell you what I've done. Go behind and see. I work in the PRC government, whether I build houses or not. Go and see. Whether I came here with money or not, go and see. But that's not the issue.
Okay.
I'm saying to you, firstly, most times the people that are elected are assisted by these people who want to control us.
Thank you. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to read our comments, and so you can respond to the comments. And the phone lines are open. Please place your call. The number, again, is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791403. So at this point, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
Welcome back to Focus on Liberia. This is FOL Marketplace, where we discuss business, finance, economics, and everything in between. The topic today is why international NGOs don't submit to audit in the country in which they work. My guest is Yanqui Zaza. He's joining me this time, not from New York, but from Monrovia, Liberia. Let's read some comments here, Mr. Zaza. Dave Jai say NGO's goal is to provide a band-aid. By this time, Liberia is no longer in an emergency phase and should no longer continue to rely on aid. This is fueling the dependency syndrome. Strategic thinking is needed in Liberia. William Dunbar is following us from Monrovia. The veteran Panando is watching. Somo Koluba is saying, good evening. I'm watching from Painesville, Liberia. Somo, thank you for watching. Cecilia Logan, good evening, guys. Good evening, Cecilia. Alex Jones says, the Liberian government is incapable of auditing themselves. How would they be capable of auditing USAID or anybody else? I don't think that makes any sense. Dave Jai again say, giving the money to an NGO by the government of Liberia was a strategic ploy to continue to milk the country. Ellis Jones, international organizations are not a government. They cannot audit themselves. That would be a conflict of interest on the NGOs in Liberia. What do you say to that, Mr. Zaza?
But I mean, whether are churches audited? Don't we audit churches? Churches we audit churches. There's no institution that should not be audited. Audited is one of the management tools that you manage your business. Look, auditing is not the worst of things. It's good for the auditee and the auditor or the owners. Because when they audit you, it might help you to improve your system. They might show you something that you didn't know, or they might pinpoint an employee that is very weak. So auditing is good for business as well as the entity that is providing the services. So the NGO, why should NGO not be audited? Because they are international institutions. Let's assume even the auditing institutions in Liberia are weak. But give and try and see whether they're going to do. Firstly, the NGO activities are not that complex. Basically, they receive money out of the payroll. So you're going to be focusing on the cash received, the things they bought, and see whether the roads are built. They receive money to build hospital. That's all they will be doing. It will not be like a government, like a Ministry of Finance, Public Works, XYZ, with too many conflicting or overlapping activities. The NGO got specific responsibilities that are defined and that can be audited and reviewed. So I don't think the fact that they are international NGO, they should be excluded from being reviewed and examined.
Dada Logan said, we are looking at NGOs. What's about religious organizations that raise millions in the name of supporting the poor and undertaking projects in a country like Liberia? How can the government monitor them and the funds?
Well, that's a tricky question because they claim to be doing good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Focus on Liberia. Again, my guest is Mr. J. Yanqui. We're talking about NGOs not being accountable or not allowing themselves to be audited, even if we give them our money. And again, we still have comments here. Ella June, well, we don't want to be independent, so why shouldn't they put their reserves on Wall Street or in the U.S. money market? Let's face our broken government. Let's stop blaming other people. William Dunbar, Liberia is in a dire need of total review of all such organizations in order to align services with available funds. Dave, the argument can be extended. Those who steal money and make war on the country are the wealthiest in Liberia. Weah was insinuating that if you are educated and work for government, you should be rich. Poor logic. Not everybody agrees with that. Wilton Kelter is asking for the statement where the president said that. I'm looking for. Okay, we have a caller now, but our guest is not on. But let's take the call. We can jot down the point.
Hello, can you hear me?
Where are you calling from?
Yes, Alex Jones calling from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Go ahead, Alex.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dad. Mr. Jeze, I think it's a very good show, and I think it's a very fine accounting. But the purpose of my call today is I think the basis of his argument is not really relevant to the development of Liberia. There are countries in Africa that also receive World Bank money, receive IMF money, and they're doing very well. Those countries like Botswana, Rwanda, even Sierra Leone. So the issue in Liberia is not whether or not the World Bank, and I do know I'm not a big fan of the World Bank or the IMF, but even though the World Bank, is a defunct organization and they're having alleviated poverty in Liberia, the responsibility of Liberia, its economy, should be rested on people like him, people like myself, people like Mr. Da, people like Cummings. We are the ones who are supposed to be trying to fix the problem first, get responsible people elected. And we don't do that. We jump behind politicians, one politician after another, and they wreck the country. They connive with the international community, and they are package the economic booty of the country. So we shouldn't be blaming anybody else. We should first of all be capable of establishing an organized political party or political system, not a corrupt one that takes one person and work out comments and then just put all the support behind them. We should be capable of being able to select good people. So I think that's what Mr. Zeze, I disagree with him on, that we should spend our time. I mean, Bobby Wine, this young man, all right, is able to mobilize the people in his country and win several seats and bring accountability. And we've been around for over 170 years, and we still don't have one individual who can mobilize anybody, who can have any kind of good policy to present to the people. So it's shame on us, not the World Bank. I don't like them, but they don't hold any responsibilities. They help a lot of people, and without them, we won't even have GSP. So are we saying that we should stop IMF and the World Bank? Then we'll be dead because we don't have anything. We should create our own fund. We should create our own business. We should create our own Wall Street. People like Mr. Zeze. That's what I want. People like, I think, Dwalu. You have the brightest Liberian. Why don't they take control of the economy? Thank you very much, and I will sit back and listen.
And Mr. Jones, mobilizing the people begins with such education, right? What he's saying about the World Bank, you may not agree that it holds the key, but it's true, right? So the mobilization start with enlightening the people to say, hey, this is what's going on. And if we know this, then we are able to take the next step.
I disagree. I mean, no one knows, no educated person will not know how the impact, the negative impact of the World Bank, the IMF. We can keep all the time to we consulting people, we mobilize, we educating. But Liberia have already the education and needs. We all have spoken.
I disagree with you.
We get around from the 70s. So it's time for act instead of talking and trying to educate other people. If Cummins open a manufacturer, if myself or you or all of us get together and go and make sure first the corrupt government is all the power, because you can't do anything without the government. This is a government that can't even audit themselves.
Exactly. So that's the point. Right? So in order for you to get rid of what you call the corrupt government, is the people that have to vote them out. So you still have to provide the people that education so they can make informed decisions. One reason most of the shows that talk about the genuine thing, they don't attract audience, right? Why? Because the people think they can get their solution by corrupt politician and loquacious buffoon making noise on the internet. So if the kind of education and enlightenment that they say is provided now, if those people get it, maybe they will make informed decision. But thank you for your comment.
Yeah, one last point. Let me make this last one. The only reason why the buffoons on the other media are supporting people who are not capable, who don't have the integrity, people like Darius, all these people. I mean, it's a joke when we take a man like that, right, and say that our leader. It's an insult to education. It's an insult to knowledge. We don't have any good people. So what I'm saying to Mr. Zeze, which I respect a lot, he needs to also focus on selecting good Liberian leaders that people can be presented to the Liberian people. That's where you start from. That will be able to dispel all these other political Santa Claus around here talking about the leaders when all they do is just go mad. But if we just talk about the economics, with all giving the people an alternative, if you give the people say what he's saying. So we have to be able to select people. He should be more active, in selecting people and causes like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the War and Economic Crimes Court. That's where we should start.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. William Williat Dombasi, what a pity. I hope 2023 produces a government and leader accountable to the people. Kanga Pega again say your guest is dangling all over the place. Please bring people with authority on the subject matter on the discussion. Pega, please call in and interact with the guest, because you were making claims that maybe you will have time to respond to if you are talking. Kevin Soko, African Development Bank is a total letdown, but can African nations organize their own monetary system? English and Francophone countries to remove African countries from borrowing money from the World Bank. Hamilton Zilli, actually, foreign aid has not helped Africa over the years. Africa is the biggest recipient of foreign aid in the world. Unfortunately, bulk of the monies that come through foreign aid are recycled, spent on foreign workers, for instance. They operate on this principle that says, give the money, follow the money, and bring back the money. I tend to agree with Mayo's assertion in her book, Dead Aid, Why Aid is Not Working, that in order to deal with the poverty in Africa, there is a need for trade. Thank you, Hamilton, for that. We have another caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you calling from. Hello, caller. Let's read more comments.
Okay. I'm following the show and I listen to your host. I mean, the person that
the guest
that's on the show that was talking about what is taking place with the World Bank and all of that. And I heard that someone try to discredit that, which I want to disagree. You know, like most of the time we say, most especially in Liberia, that our leaders don't love the country, which I don't believe that all of our leaders. It is just not possible that all of our leaders will come with hatred for the country. But it is possible that there is something right in the middle that they all will have to face, right? And because of that thing, it is possible that they all will operate the same way. And I want to believe that he talked about the World Bank, right? We look at Africa, how Africa continues to be the same way like it is over and over and over and over. And then someone talk about other countries in Africa. But let us forget about other countries. Liberia is situated in a way, and listen, the very foundation of Liberia. Let us understand how was it funded, how was it placed, why is it useful? Because if we understand those things, then we'll realize why we are where we are. But if we forget to understand our very foundation and we just think that our leaders come in and they steal and they steal and they steal, when they steal the money, where do they carry it? When they do these things to us, where do they go to? So that means the same people, right, that and they will take the money for us and take it to the same people, right, to keep it for them. At the end of the day, we said Doe was a criminal. We didn't get no money out of Doe. We said Tower was a role. We didn't get nothing out of Doe. We said Taylor was a role. Got nothing out of Taylor. Up to this day, we still calling people criminals, stealing our money, but we get nothing out of them. Where are they getting this money? It is because of the same people that create the avenue for these people to rob us. You understand me? And at the end of the day, they protect them. Then they say, oh, because they hate. No, not that because they hate. It's because the avenue has been created for them to do what they are doing. Him in their own mind, majority of the time, they don't want to do right, except for the police or some way to stop them from doing it. That's the only way someone will change. But until the avenue is created for them by those international groups, I'll tell you the truth, my brother, Liberia will remain the same. If America want Liberia to change today, like Joe who said to Charles Taylor get out, right? Charles Taylor left. If they want Liberia to change today, when they stand up, Liberia will change. Apart from that, we'll continue being the same cycle. Thank you very much, my brother.
Oh, okay. And your name again?
Yep. Mr. Roberts.
Okay, Mr. Robert, are you saying that Liberia by ourselves, we are incapable of making any change unless the West says something or does something? Is that what I'm hearing?
We are very much capable. And the reason why I say that is because there's an avenue created for these people who takes power. Because when I listen to this man, right, what he said, when the guys take power, they will complain. They want people in office, they're not the right person. The moment they take power, they meet the same obstacle, they meet the same group of people who tell them, look, in order for me to support you, you got to do X, Y, Z. You don't have to listen to your people because when you continue to listen to your people, it's possible will kick you out. What they do say? Don't say I want to build. They don't want me to build. They don't say I want to do this. They don't want me to do it. At the end of the day, those who agree with what they agree with, they will stay for 12 years and 27 years. Those who don't agree, they will have to face it exactly what they have to face it. So we have to look at the root cause, not just them, but look at what is taking place. Why are they doing what they are doing? We need to look at that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Our folks in the background, do we have any more color? We lost our guest. He's the connection. He's joining us from Monrovia. So
that was the color. No other color as yet.
Okay, so we are going to wrap this up. But thank you so much for watching. Again, Monrovia for Liberia. I think for me, if you ask me, it will not be roll. It will be internet. If we have the technology, if we have energy and internet, that country can be transformed. People can be as far as Dodo can and still focus on Liberia, and their life will be changed. So, yes, while Roy is important, let's put a little more emphasis on connectivity, internet, have internet, and use technology to transform Liberia. Tomorrow, please join us. We're going to continue our series on Let's Have a Plan. Last week, we had a plan on agriculture. This week, or this Sunday, on Primetime Sunday, is going to be on water, sanitation, and the environment. My guest, Dr. Maurice Tennessee Kofa, is going to be here to break all that down for us. What is the plan when it comes to water, sanitation, and the environment? Next week, and this is we have something big coming on. Next week we'll have there's been this ongoing discussion on the progressive. People have mixed views about the progressive. So next week Saturday, Ezekiel Pajipo, Rufus Berry, George Lobo, and Wilmot Cooney will be here to discuss the progressives of Liberia, what have been their accomplishment, their activities since the 1970s to today. Whatever way you feel about the progressive, who you think they are, come here Saturday and let's discuss. I want to thank all our viewers for staying here with us. I want to thank Mr. Zaza, who joined us from Monrovia. We will say thank you so much for watching. Keep it here at Focus on Liberia, where we do our best to educate, to elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Until then, from all of us at Focus on Liberia, my name is Dennis Jar, closing with this song that says, "We are all Liberian." Good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Be right.